Well, hello folks, I'm back again, and I have a story to tell y'all today. Now, I have a friend that loves Halloween. She loves going to all the haunted houses and the haunted forest and the haunted hayride, you name it, she's a-wanting to go. Now, she's always trying to get me to go, too. Now, I don't like being scared. So, a lot of times I'm a-telling her, I ain't a-gonna go and have things jump out on me. But she said, there's this haunted forest coming up. I said, we need to go. We need to go. It's fun. I said, is it real scary? She says, oh no, said it's not that scary, it's just fun. Now, you have to take what she says with a grain of salt, let me tell you. But I decided to go. Me and my husband, we went. Now, we got there, and my husband went and bought our tickets. Now, we was there pretty early, and I think they was just one group in front of us. And another girl showed up that I went to school with, and I talked to her some, and she said she'd been there before too, and I was asking her about it and everything. So, we lined up there, we was getting ready to go up through the forest, and this woman, she was telling us the rules. She says, now, there is not to be no touching from either side. They can't touch you, and you can't touch them. And I was a-thinking, that's wonderful. I don't want them things a-touching me. So, we went on up in there, started up through that forest. And we come to a building, and there was a door. Now, my one friend, she says, you got to knock on that door. I says, I ain't a-knocking on that door. I says to my husband, I said, you go knock on that door. I ain't a-knocking. So he knocks, and this gypsy woman opens the door, and she come in. So now, they was 6 of us in the little group. They separated us out in groups. They was 3 women and 3 men in our group, okay. Now, we go in there, and that gypsy, she starts a-going on and a ranting and a raving and a talking, and she is talking like one of these Cajun women. And she said that they was a woman that had stole her man. Her man, his name was Remy. And she said, was it one of you? You know, there was me and them other 2 girls there. And all of a sudden, she gets right up in my face. And she said, you look like the one that stole my Remy. And I says, I didn't do it. I said, right here is my husband. And she said, that does not mean that you don't fool around with others' husbands. So, guess what? She blew some powder on me, and she says, you are marked. I was the one that was marked. And you know what? I have a feeling that them other 2 friends of mine back there was behind me doing this thing right here. I think they sold me out. Now, she told me, and now during all when she's talking to, she asked me my name. I says, Debbie. Well, all of a sudden, all the creatures in the building starts a-hollering my name. And she told me that I would have to be in front, going through the whole forest now. Everything we did, I had to be in the front, because I was the marked one. I says, oh Lord, that's all I need. I am not a leader. I am a follower. Now, it come time for us to go out of that building. Now, it got real dark in there. I think they must have turned the lights down even more. And I couldn't find the door. Here I was in front. I had to lead everybody, and I couldn't find the door. I was a feeling and a pushing. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. It was so dark. Now, I was a pushing and a feeling on the walls and everything. And I couldn't find no door to get out of. So one of my friends, she hollers, she says, "Go on, Debbie." I said, "There's about 8 others back here." They had already let loose another group to come on. And I was a-holding up the works. I says, "I can't find the door." I says, "If we getting out of here, somebody's going to have to come up here and find the door." Well, somebody did. I think it might have been my one friend. She comes and she finds the door. She'd been here before. She knew where it was, I guess. Anyway, we got out of there. So we walk a little further, and there's this big gate. And there's this big, tall man standing there. I don't know if he was like a ringmaster or what. He was dressed up in something. I don't know what he was. Anyway, he says, "Come in." Oh, first he says, "Who is the marked one?" I says, "That would be me." He says, "Come in." Well, he opens that gate, and we all go through it, me and, in front. So he gets up in my face, and he starts a-hollering and a-going on. I forget what he was saying. And I felt his breath hit my face, and all of a sudden, he was so close to me, I felt his spit hit my lip. I says, "Oh, Lord, what am I going to do now?" I says, "I hope he don't have no germs. I hope he don't have a disease." Well, now, I got my jacket and I wiped my lip off. I said, "I ain't a-licking my lip until I can get me a wet ones, an antibacterial wet ones, and scrub my lips off." Now, so he goes a-talking and a-going on and telling me this and that, and we had to walk through this other place, and they was these women that was all bent backwards, and women that was supposed to be little crazy-looking dolls and everything. It was just all kinds of stuff. So, now we finally got out of that one. Then we had to go in this other building. And on either side, they was it looked like bars, like a jail cell. And they was women in all of them, and they was all hollering, at us as we walked through. And there was this thing hanging from the ceiling. And I thought it was fake at first. Well, guess what? It wasn't. It jumped down from there. And this woman says, "Who is the marked one?" I says, "That would be me." She says, "Well, now to leave here, you have to go and pet that woman right over her in that cell on the head and tell her that she is pretty." Now, for one thing, I don't swing that way. And for another, they told us when we started up there that there was to be no touching. Now, I was wondering what's up with that. Now, she just kept on. She said, "You will be put in one of these cells if you don't go over there and pet her on the head and tell her that she is pretty." So I says, "Okay." So I go over and I say, "You're pretty." She jumps out of that cell all at once and screams, "Thank you!" So, okay. That was my little scare for that one. So we finally get out of there. And we go walking up a little trail place, and there was just like a shed up ahead, I guess you'd call it. And this farmer, he was a farmer. And he said that we was all, first of all, of course, he says, who is the marked one? I said, that would be me. He said that we was all little pigs, and we had to go in the barn to be slaughtered. Now, I thought, well, if I'm a pig, I might as well act like one. So I take the going as I was going in that barn. So I gone in there, and there's some other feller, he hands me a ticket. And that evidently was my, I don't know what you call it. In other words, they was going to slaughter me. So it was real smoky. You couldn't see in some of these buildings. They had smoke and everything, and I was doing this thing right here trying to find my way. You couldn't even see. One of the girls had a flashlight. I says, turn that thing on. She says, it don't help. And it didn't. You couldn't see through the fog and the smoke. So as we walk on through, and there's this feller, he's all covered in blood, and there's the things hanging around like he had butchered, some pigs and such. And he says, who is the marked one? I says, that would be me. I says, here. And I hand him that ticket, and one of the girls, she hollers, you ain't supposed to give him the ticket. And that's giving him the right to go ahead and butcher you. I says, well, I didn't know. Well, anyway, he says, I want you to pet my pig. So I stand there as I'm thinking. Now, I already had to pet a girl on the head and tell her she was pretty. Now I'm supposed to pet a pig on the head when they told us they was to be no touching. So he kept on. He says, you have to pet this pig on the head. I says, okay. So they was somebody dressed up like a big old ugly pig, okay? And he comes over there, so I says, well, I might as well talk the pig language to him. I went, and I starts a petting his head. And that butcher, he says, now you gotta pet him good, or he get mad. So I'm going, and I'm a-petting him on the head. Well, he goes wild. He jerks up and starts leaping and going on and squealing and everything. So the butcher, he says, now you gotta pet him good, or he's gonna get mad. So I tried again, and he calms down a little bit that time. Well, now we finally, after I don't know what another, get out of that place. And so as we start walking a little bit more down the trail, there's the darn werewolf. I says, hey gosh. And they's a-telling me, run, Debbie. It's after you. I says, I can't run. I got a bad ankle. Now, I'd had my ankle broke over a year ago, and I sure didn't want to break it again. It gives me trouble sometimes, I says, I can't run. I says, but he's a-coming after you. I says, I'm doing the best I can. So anyway, we finally get out of there, and I look back, and there's somebody with a chainsaw after us too. And the chainsaw person has my husband cornered. My husband's going one way. The chainsaw feller goes this way, and it was back and forth and back and forth. And my husband was a-hollering, help me, Debbie. Well, anyway, I was burning up, folks. I was absolutely roasted. I had on this here hat. I had my hair down. I had on a little jacket, and there was sweat running down my neck. I felt like that I was having the mother of all hot flashes. Now, I was miserable. My heart was pounding in my chest, and it wasn't from being scared. It was being frustrated, trying to get out of all them doors and buildings and everything, and things are chasing you, and everybody saying, hurry up. Well, anyway, we finally got out there. It looked like it was kind of out in the open, and I said, are we done? And my friend behind me, she says, I think this is it. And I'm like, thank goodness. Now, she was laughing her head off, my friend that likes all the scary stuff. She was a hee-hawing and a laughing. She says, this is the best haunted forest that I have ever been to because of you. Everybody had a ball, I reckon, at my expense. But we all got out alive, and I guess that was okay. But anyway, that's my story of the haunted forest. I hope you all have a good day.